Hi everyone. I have not posted for a while, so I thought it's about time because I have been very busy with transitioning. So I left Vancouver via plane with Zorro, as you guys may have seen on one of or two of the posts about Zorro, to fly to Chicago. And then I left Zorro here with my daughter while I went on to the Golden Ticket event, which was awesome. It was so much fun to meet the people who I have, some of the people that I have been meeting on Zooms and through phone calls, and that was fantastic. It was just fantastic. And I got to meet Pace. It was very, very, very good. And it deepened a lot of relationships, although frankly I was kind of overwhelmed. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it's real. And I was kind of like a little bit tongue-tied, but anyways, it's okay. I came back and I have been trying to get myself going here in Brookfield, and some interesting things have happened. Settling in is not that easy. It's very disorienting. In a lot of ways, I caused problems for myself because, I'm a dual citizen. I wasn't born yesterday. I figured I knew what I needed, made sure I got my passport, my American bank cards, and my vaccination, proof of vaccination, what else would I need? Well, one thing I would need is my Social Security card, which in Canada they advise you don't carry your social insurance card with you. So I had gotten used to not carrying it. So of course I have it in a file, which is being moved with all the very few things actually. I've downsized as much as I can, but I'm not going to get them for a good 4 weeks or so. I'm like, oh, okay. What do you need a Social Security card for? Just about everything to prove your identity. And, you cannot qualify for loans without it. You also cannot get the other thing I didn't think about is I brought my BC driver's license and my BC medical services card, because those are seen as official ID, but they're not recognized here. So in order to go and get a driver's license, I have to have a state issued ID. Well, I didn't have a state issued ID, but I had federal. I figured that was good enough. No, not good enough. So I'm like, oh my goodness. And they're like, okay, if you don't have the card, you can give us proof by giving us SSA, Social Security Administration 1099. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that form. But of course, it's in with everything else. So I had to go up there today to ask for that, because you can't do it on the phone, because a passport isn't enough for them to prove who you are, and they want a person to look at you. I'm like, okay. I was quite surprised when I got there, because the lady told me that, oh, we have a problem with your Social Security card. And I was like, well, what could the problem be? I lived here for a lifetime. I've been paying taxes for a long time, 40 years. What's the problem? You never told us you became an American citizen. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? She said, you haven't spoken to us since 1979. I'm like, I never thought I had to speak with the Social Security Administration for my card. I figured that the taxes that I pay and the passports and the citizenship that I got, that these were connected. She's like, you thought wrong. And your records are completely outdated. And you didn't tell us. And she kept saying, you didn't tell us. And I was like, I did not know. So sorry. So, that was a big scolding from her to me. I thought, that's interesting, that my Social Security card had no communication for so long. And she says, okay, listen. I said also, by the way, Medicare and Medicaid, I know I'm going to need those things. I didn't need them in Canada, but I'm going to need them now. And she says, yeah, well, you know what? You need to prove that you left the country and that you returned. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, yoo-hoo, I'm here. You know, I didn't say that, but I was like, what the heck is she thinking? She's an official. I am here. Why would she ask me to prove that I came back? And she said, well, you have to prove that you actually entered the country. I'm like, and that you even left in the first place. I'm like, okay, I left 13 years ago. It was October 31st, 2009. She says, yeah, well, where's the documentation? I'm like, oh my God. She goes, we need those tickets. Because I had told her I flew in. So she said, we need those tickets when you flew out to Canada and when you flew back in. I said, I didn't fly out to Canada. I drove out with the truck and my son. And she said, well, then we need something from the border crossing. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so of course I had to have something, and I think I kept it for nostalgic reasons, but I'm like, I have to go and prove that I actually left for 13 years. My taxes were all filed from Canada. I didn't have any jobs here. All my jobs were in Canada, and some of them were in Britain and other places, but you know, they were not in the States. I'm like, this is illogical to me, but I can't get my new card until then. And from then on, I have to use the new card, which has been updated. I'm like, okay, whatever. So she gave me the 1099, so I can go ahead and apply for a driver's license as well. I need other things also. But that was very interesting. The troubles you get if you don't have your Social Security card. It's not the passport. It's not the citizenship. It's the Social Security card. Okay. I mean, I've always used my number, but how funny is that? The other thing that happened, which was also disorienting, is I went and got to get a new phone, which is what I'm filming on now. So you're looking at me on the iPhone 14. I didn't want the iPhone 14. I wanted the iPhone 14 Max, but I went into a third-party seller, and I didn't know they were third-party because all they had is T-Mobile on the store. I thought it was a T-Mobile store and an iPhone store, but it turns out it was third-party. So the guy, he basically bullied me, if you can believe that I can be bullied. Okay, I was bullied. Yes, I was bullied into getting this phone, and he outright lied, and I wasn't allowed to see the phone until I had paid for it, which I thought was weird because the only examples they had, you couldn't lift them up. So I couldn't even look at, like, I could only look at the front. So it was like looking at a picture, except you could touch the front, but you couldn't turn it on, you couldn't touch the back, nothing. Anyhow, when finally the transaction was completed, and you know, it was well over $1,000, and he takes it. Well, what he did was interesting because I decided to get the tempered glass to protect it and the case. So while it was still in the box, he opened the lid box and he put the tempered glass on it. And I thought to myself, oh, I guess he's done it enough that maybe that gives it more stability or something, and it's easier to do. Enough, okay, no big deal. But when he lifted the phone up, that's when I saw that it only had 2 cameras instead of the 3. And I was like, wait, that's not the same as what you showed me, because he said, just look at any of the pictures. Well, all the pictures had 3 cameras on it. Now, you know, if you're an iPhone expert, you might know all this, but I had received my first iPhone, which was an iPhone 8, I don't know how many years ago, but whenever it came out. And I don't really look at these things, except that I think they're overpriced, and that iPhone is a good product. So I was willing to upgrade, but I wanted the bigger one because this one's smaller than the iPhone 8, which is crazy. Anyhow, so I said, I don't want that phone. That's not the same. And he goes, well, it's just as good. And I was like, you jerk, you're backtracking. And I said, I don't want that phone. That's not the phone that you said I was buying. And so he says, well, that's fine, but it's going to cost you $70 for a restocking fee, and you won't be able to get the plan that you wanted, and you're not going to get any of the discounts. You're not going to get this. You should just take the phone. And I was like, the tears were coming down my face. I was like, what the hell? This isn't how you're supposed to treat a customer. And I was like, now what am I going to do? He's already got my money. He's got this thing on the phone. I was just so shocked that he was treating me that way that I actually left the store and he convinced me to hand in my iPhone 8, which I wasn't going to. I was going to hold on to it because I had a fantastic plan on that. And I thought, hey, you know, for $40 a month, I can use it when I'm in Canada. But here in the States, it was costing me well over $100 a day roaming. So he said, I'll give you $260 for it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'd given him my phone. I left. By the time I got home, I knew I had been hoodwinked. I didn't like it. I talked to T-Mobile. I talked to iPhone. I went back the next day, talked to the manager. They had already gotten rid of my phone. Guys, if you ever change phone numbers like I did, watch out. Because I have spent about 3.5 days, maybe more, proving to every single account I have open that I am who I am, because they send the verification code to the phone that no longer exists. The number doesn't exist. What a heap load of trouble. Anyhow, it's been interesting how much of my time has been taken up by all this, and it is unsettling, disorienting. In Brookfield, I can't see any mountains. I can't see any real landscape. I see lots of trees and the sun, so of course I can follow the sun, but I couldn't even get my directions correct. You know, I thought Chicago was south, but it's actually north. I'm disoriented with directions too. I'm getting there, but I'm disoriented because in Vancouver you have the mountains. The mountains, we all know that's north. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So the only one left is America. It's south. So it's really strange. And the time zone has also caused me grief because I have never lived in the central time zone. I've always lived on the coast. Davis, California was the furthest in I'd ever lived, and you know, that was still on Pacific Standard Time. So I'm all confused when people say what time zone they're in, because I'm like, okay, where am I? What time zone? It is disorienting. All to say, this little granddaughter I'm going to have, she's causing me trouble. She's causing me lots of trouble, and she's ready to come out pretty soon. We already had one scare where Jackie went in and they sent her back home after they checked her. But it's going to happen pretty soon, and then the trouble will really begin. So all I can say is I am super happy, not accomplishing as much as I want with my real estate right now or my posting, so please forgive me on that. And I'm waiting with great anticipation for this little girl to arrive, this baby girl. And I'm happy. Hopefully I can start posting more regularly, and now you're fully caught up on the disorientation and unsettled feelings of moving and the unnecessary waste of time. Anyhow, it's all fun. That's it for now. Take care. See you before long. Not as long as the last time. Bye-bye.